to welcome Brother Damien Price to give this first keynote. His title is Coordinator of Developing Nations and Cross-Cultural Engagement, Oceania Province Christian Brothers. I actually heard Brother Damien speak about 20 years ago at a tertiary chaplains conference, and at that time he gave us a list of endpoints for engaging with young people. That list was on my wall for about 15 years. So he had a profound impact on me in what he had to say, and I'm sure, or I've seen a little bit of what he's saying today, that what he's going to say today will have a profound impact on you. So please welcome Brother Damien.
You've got to have a sense of humour. When you've got a stutter, microphones are scary. So, can you hear me if I speak this way? Are you okay with that? 4 years ago, that's not the screen it's supposed to be there. That's Michael Clinton's writing anyway. Isn't that beautiful photo? 4 years ago, I was up in Toowoomba doing a tiny bit of work. I was the keynote speaker at something, and I called in at Mac Cafe. You can shoot me at morning tea for doing that, to have a coffee beforehand because I was nervous. And there was a table next to me of 4 or 5 young women, obviously going to the same conference. And one of them turned to the other and said, "Oh, I hate these days. You've got to sit there and listen to some old guy rave on." So I dug into my cup of coffee. I was embarrassed. Yeah, it's good to be here. And I asked myself, why? Why are we here and what is exciting us? And I think what's exciting me about this topic, I want to go back to King George Square. And I was working with homeless people, and the students from my particular school at that time were working on this van with the homeless. And I was standing there next to the van, and we had a rule that if there was a difficult situation, someone would say now. And that was our code for, going to duty of care stuff. And one of the students, a guy called Matthew O'Gorman, was over at the side, and there was this homeless guy chatting to him, and it was a passionate conversation. And Matt was listening, and the guy was getting fired up, and I was concerned. So our code for "I'm not safe" was, "Could I have a coffee and 5 sugars, please?" So I walked over to Matt and said, "G'day, Matt, how's it going?" And if it wasn't good, he was going to turn to me and go, "Could I have a coffee and 5 sugars?" And that was code for I gently step in, and I don't know what I was going to do, but I was going to do something. Anyway, Matt said, "No, it is quite okay." That's not the man, but that's from the... That was a beautiful guy called Tony, who used to live down in the Botanical Gardens here. Extraordinary man. And but Matthew said this. I was chatting to Len, that's the homeless guy, that I knew well. He came over to me quite disturbed. He told me to be careful as they were watching us. They have cameras everywhere. Who are watching us, Len? They are the government, the city council, the army. They're everywhere. On the top of every building, they have cameras watching our every move. For the rest of that time, Len was sharing with me his fears. And the fears we should all have, as our every move was being watched. At one point, a small voice in my head clicked in. Len is crazy. He's lost the plot. Then almost as quickly, another voice in my head came into play. No, this is just Len's mental illness. It's part of his paranoia, part of his story of abuse and substance abuse and resultant mental illness. I'll just be present to Len, to his story, to him, beyond the presenting mental illness. The last 5 seconds is why I asked for extra time. Now, that's why I do service learning. Because Matty O'Gorman in that situation was transformed, or his journey to transformation had been going for some time. Here he is with Len, whom he knew well. He'd been down the street there many times. He built a relationship. And here he is listening, and all of a sudden he says, Len's a bit crazy. They're watching us. And then this voice clicks in that said, no. I will be present to Len, to the person, beyond the presenting mental illness. Now that is powerful. That's the potential of service. Today, our world desperately needs transformation. It was Dorothy Day, the founder of the Catholic Worker Movement, who back in the 1920s, I think in 1962, she actually said, the greatest challenge facing the world today had been about a revolution of the heart. And in our own time in the Catholic faith community, but wider for the entire world, Pope Francis is saying to us over and over again, we need a culture of encounter. And before I'm drummed out of the church again, one of my many things I challenge the church with is, are we creating cultures where people meet, where people encounter the other and their story, etc., rather than just hiding behind plastic rituals, etc. Today, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the ticking as a boxes bit. But I'm constantly inspired in my service learning work with this Jesus, the upside down Messiah. If I had time, which I haven't, I get this young man here who's hoping not to be noticed. And could you go to the far corner of the room? He's a leper. Ding, ding, ding. And we've got this woman here whom I do know, who's the woman caught in the very act of committing adultery. So in the very if I didn't know, I wouldn't say that. How are you? Praise the Lord. And we've got a man with a withered hand. Could you go down to the back there, please? This poor Samaritan woman over here who comes to the well at noontime, the time of the outcast. Because the respectable women like you, Auntie Joan, came early in the morning. Jim Darcy said to say hi. Okay, you were actually safe. Samaritan woman who comes at noon time. And Michael, come on down, because you're the man with the withered hand over that far corner over there. And I could go on, but I haven't got time, because on every page of the scriptures, we've got this kind of Jesus who goes, you're not far enough, woman caught in adultery. He goes to the broken and to brokenness over and over again in the actual scriptures. So this Jesus and this gospel is the most magnificent lens that we can engage with service. Okay? We can do social analysis, and then we put the lens of the gospel in, and it becomes theological reflection, and then transformation happens. So we want to encounter the way Jesus does. And in all those instances there, what does he do? He comes as guest to their innate dignity. He chooses to be deeply present to them. And in every scripture story, what happens? They go away liberated. Now that's what we are about. Come on back, sinners. Okay. Jill won't be talking to me ever again. Our young people are wanting more. The Latin is the word majus. And they look at our world. And I was telling the story, I was in Adelaide for my sins a year or two ago. No, that's okay. And I was early for a meeting, and 4 young men from the school I was going to work at came up the hill. All 4 had earphones in. All 4 had a mobile phone in their hand. All 4 had a cup of takeaway coffee. And I remember I wanted to take a photo, but then I thought my blue card would not. In joke, somebody actually got it. But I thought, that's our young people. But they are seeking more. They can see our world, our relatively plastic world, and they know there has to be more. They're searching for meaning. And this world which is so struck with dualism, the in, the out, the us, the them, the right, the wrong. And this is one of the themes that Pope Francis is addressing over and over again. This particular world that wants to create walls, and the walls get bigger so we can keep them out. So this is the kind of world our young people are growing up in. So they are wanting more. And you're busy. You're busy. So the service learning teacher and all the roles you wonderful people are in, you're busy and you're doing curriculum and you're doing marking this and the other thing and going to parent-teacher nights and going to board meetings and all the million things you've got in your life. You're busy and often too busy. I had fun trying to put that cartoon there. And sometimes it's just a matter of survival for you and for my own self. So in the midst of all that, we choose to do service and to make it a really transformational thing. So do we do it like St Finbarr's the Holy Grail College, which wouldn't be good if our Year 9s had some experience of service. St Finbarr's Holy Grail has their kids visit a nursing home. Oh, that's a nursing home, 2 streets away, the parent one of Year 9s works there. We have religious education last period Wednesday. So let's go down there, I'll book the 20% us, we've got permissions to go. Hey, talk to the little old ladies in the West Wing. I love who I've met a little bit in. No, it's so nice. Make sure everyone gets a photo of the school magazine, especially if you do what St Finbarr's Holy Grail College did. They had their kids in the morning too and got great photos of it. And if that's our service learning, I've got a problem. Now, I know none of your schools do it like that. I know that. But I've seen that done. Or is it Mangrove Swamp Grammar, who takes their students to the Philippines every year, and last year they built 10 new wooden huts for some poor families that slum over a sewer. It cost them $5,000 for the trip each, but they raised the money to sell tickets at the rugby games. They got some great photos. It was a mess, pollution going, the traffic around us. The almost missed their flight home, the traffic at the airport was so bad. Maybe we can do something similar. Now again, I'm being cynical a little bit, and you can drum me out of the church, but sometimes it can be like that. And I don't believe that is transformative. Not only is it not transformative, it can do damage. So speed dial through, what does ticking boxes mean? I think it's when the program just feels good. It's what we should do. The parents love it. That's a real good educational reason why we should be doing something. Often if it's a one-off experience, often the experience is in isolation, not part of a sequential. I've got this PowerPoint and my talk, so you can report me to the 2 archbishops. It'll be on the website, okay? That's the cousin of a website. So it's not part of a sequential program, and often not linked to the curriculum. Ticking boxes, for me, says it's little works done in pre-B. There's no clear goals and how it's educational, from that beautiful Latin word educare, to liberate. Okay, there's no clear goals and how it's focus. Look, hit this up, Damien. There's a focus on the activity in itself. It's successful if the participants feel good about it. A little pre-brief and debrief done during the experience. And no quality debrief after the experience. For me, ticking boxes means the language and concepts from the community culture is not assimilated to the servicing program, nor vice versa. There'd be other things ticking boxes means. The life experience in the schools is we can often be trapped into that. It's just another thing we actually do, and do it in the midst of our busyness. I believe there's a great potential for damage. We can do harm. We can have undebriefed shock if we're not careful. I'm using the example before I'm drummed out of the church yet again of a street van. We're there one morning and we had our barbecue there, and I know some of you have heard this story before, and the homeless guys had been queuing up, and our students were there, and we had a new student there, and we worked with him and pre-briefed him. He's serving the eggs. And along comes one of the homeless guys, and he says, "I don't want that effing egg. I'm sick of your effing eggs. Effing bloody this. I want them more. I want them harder. They're running everywhere." And they're using these F words. I don't know what they meant, but I read about it. And this young man said, because he's been Jesus, he's the hands and feet and smile of Jesus out in the streets, and all of a sudden he's been told to go far away 7 times. Now, if that experience is not debriefed and walked with, a great harm, psychological harm, one-off experience, and you see one little glimpse of a subculture, you think that is it. You become numb to compassion. You can create a stereotype rather than even enhance it. You can create one. You limit learning through single issueness. Now, that happened when I was at St Joseph's College at Gregory Terrace. We're doing this great work with the homeless. We built a relationship with them over many, many years. And then our wonderful Prime Minister, John Howard, came along and the children overboard. Now, here we are, these students are going to the homeless, being present and coming as guests to their inner dignity, and wonderful, blah, blah, sink those bloody ships, turn them round, and they're going, "In the comprehende." We're wonderful with these homeless, but we want to sink all these ships full of asylum seekers. They had single-issued guestness. They had single-issued compassion. Do you follow what I'm saying? And so that's what made us begin to get involved with the Middle Para High School out of Chelmer with refugee children and other. We expanded our service learning program. Talk more about that soon. Okay. We can have psychological identity challenge or anger, fear, resentment. We can create a myth, create a honeymoon perception. They have this, they go on the street van or whatever. I keep using that as my example because I haven't got time to do others. And they can be there, and all these homeless guys are lovely, and they go, "Wow, the world of the homeless is beautiful, wonderful, and fantastic. They're all so lovely." As think on the other person who got told to go far away. Or, and this is a quote I heard, those people in the slum surrounded by TB and unsafe water, they're so happy. You've got 14 seconds. Turn the person next to you. What's one of the things you think can be a psychological damage? 14 seconds. Go.
I think this is something like the reaction and the lack of community there of houses, and how ungrateful.
Person that train from Northgate today carried chives. I'm sure. Over morning tea or lunch, whatever. Please buzz about some of those things, because you would have some of the potential damages. You have a great gift of service. Is that it's an area within our lives where the crap detector probably won't go off. I know in all the schools and communities I've worked in, the young people kind of go, yeah, there's something authentic here. There's an authenticity. There's something real. It's where our talk meets the reality of evangelisation and of mission, potentially. So it can be a crack attack. Let's skip that slide. It's not important. But I'm excited. I want to talk about how can service learning be a transformative experience. I had fun putting all these things in. I shouldn't joke, I think so. Wow. What's this adventure? So the adventure, I'm going to suggest, the transformation happens between the semantic memory and the episodic memory, and the dance in between here. Now, I didn't have to think here today, and those who know me say that's a pretty common experience. I knew, I just went down to Eagle Junction, I got on the train, the only thing to do is which platform of the next train. I knew to get off at Central, I knew to walk down here. All that material was in my semantic, it was a memory. I didn't know, no new learning occurred. So the semantic memory is our storehouse of our memories and our learnings and our concepts and the people in our lives and all that stuff which we've learned on the journey of life. And the episodic memory is what we're experiencing here and now. And the learning occurs when we reflect with what's in the semantic memory, with our experience in the episodic memory, and we're reflecting there. And then new learning occurs. So we, in our service learning, if it's going to be transformative, we need to engage that semantic memory. We need to say, what are the key concepts that we are wanting? So, for example, pilgrim, tourist, story, cause and effect, innate dignity, all these other things, other concepts that we're wanting the young people to engage with. So we've got to introduce those. If it's going to be transformative, we need asking why and how skills. We need theological reflection skills. We need social analysis skills. I was working with a group in South Africa a few years ago, and I used a jigsaw puzzle. I put the jigsaw puzzle out on the ground, and every night after they'd been out in doing different things, they'd come back and I'd say, what piece of the jigsaw puzzle, which is poverty in this area, do you think you have got some insight into now? What piece of the jigsaw puzzle do you think you've got insight into now? To listen to that. And so what I was trying to say is, hey, after 2 days in South Africa, you can't say, I know what's wrong with poverty in South Africa, after my 2 or so days there. So it's skills of critical thinking. And then it's some relevant content processes. And you as educational professionals, you engage there. Come back to my friend Matthew O'Gorman. In our classes, we taught Matt and the others about mental illness and substance abuse. What's paranoia? What's schizophrenia? Why does it happen? How does it happen? So when Matty O'Gorman met Len, and he kind of goes, this is his mental illness, this is his paranoia. The content was kicking in. Can you see what I'm saying? So, and then he goes into, this is part of his story. I'll be present to him. All those things are part of it. So the relevant content processes, and then the reflection and awareness skills. Right now, could you close your eyes? And I want you to see what you can hear. Thank you. What could anyone hear? Anyone, please? Yeah, the projector. Were you conscious of the noise of the projector 15 seconds ago? No. So what we just did, I got your semantic memory, and in your episodic memory, I asked you to attend to a particular stimuli. So what we do in service learning, our professional job is to say, what do we want you to attend to come as guest, attend to the innate dignity of the other, attend to mental illness, attend to the story. So when I was working with the street band, I might say to the students, today, gentlemen, can you try to get to know some first names? Okay? So by doing that, I was asking them to attend. I put it to their semantic memory for them to attend to a particular stimuli. So when they go out, it's pretty heavy for early in the day, isn't it? So when they go out onto the van, that is then there. Then what happens? You like the little bird? Okay. So what then happens is they attend to the stimuli that we've asked them to in our pre-brief. That should be a different colour so you can see it. Then we retrieve the relevant concepts and we apply the course content. And those things then make it much more a chance for transformation. So, for example, I'd say to a student, we want you to come as guests, and we'd spend time unpacking what does guestness mean, etc. So then I'd say, today, when you're out on the street van, I want you to do less talk and to really listen to come as guests. I'm asking to attend to that particular element. And then, when they get out there, they are bringing back concepts around mental illness or, substance abuse, or everyone's got a story, blah, 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 and applying what we have talked about. I've had fun doing this. Many theorists talk about, there's a guy called Schneider talks about the academic experience. So before they go into service, we engage them with the academic experience, with the concepts, the process, the skills, the concept map, the course content, the pre-read, all those things. And it's going to be different. It's different if I go into a nursing home, than if I'm working with homeless, if I'm working with refugees, or I'm out on an environmental project, etc. Each time that the many elements of the content is going to then change. So I said to myself, if I was working with homeless people, in my academic experience, some things I talk about might be the innate dignity. I had dinner with Lynn last night, and after I left Lynn, I was going back to the train. A homeless guy came up to me and he was asking me for a little bit of money between the place and the train station. I had $5 in my pocket, so I was chatting to him. I said, okay, yeah. And I got him out $5. I said, and what was your name? Graham, he said. No, Graham, I'm Damien. And I was just chatting for a couple of seconds with him. I just wanted to say, what was his first name? Something in this old man went into that person's innate dignity. That was it. That's in my semantic memory. It's within my heart too. I would hope. So story, guest, presence, mental illness, home, cycle of violence, cycle of poverty, substance abuse, cause, effect, family. All those things might be the particular academic experience if homelessness was your topic. Schneider calls it the academic experience. Kolb talks about abstract conceptualisation. Conan Harris talks about conceptual tools. Green talks about facilitated learning, and many other theorists. But they've all got that thing in common: how we engage before we do it. You can't read this and you'll twist your necks if you try to, but Conan Harris, for 15 seconds, they talk about the learners. But we want transformed learners. So at the end we've got learners with newly integrated concepts. And he talks about, this is his form of the academic experience, the tasks, the concepts, the skills, all the different things that we want them to actually engage with. Then there's the experience. then there's the critical reflection of what they've experienced. And that says mediated learning. That's where you and I come in two things. So the theorists have got a lot in common there. Tomorrow night at the dinner, you hear the Orange Sky Laundry fellows share about what they have done. Now, Lucas and Nick didn't wake up one morning and go, oh, let's go and get an Orange Sky laundry going. That decision of theirs came out of a deep sense of the innate dignity of the homeless guys. That came out of a sense of, hey, in this poverty cycle, to be able to put on a clean shirt and clean underwear and all that stuff enhances your dignity. Now, I know, review the tape 10 years, when Nick and Lucas turned up at Eddie's van for the first time at the age of 13 and 14, they weren't at that point. You just talked about guests and presence. Can you see what I'm saying? That's a journey that it's a conceptual journey. It is a heart journey. The concepts are the ladder to deeper and deeper meaning. These are just some. Don't you love the word, etc. So what you do is, in your program, you'd say to your Year 6 teachers or your Year 9 teachers, what are the hard concepts we want our young people to engage with and to grow them with? I'm just going to use one example, guess. No, I could use many. I'm just going to use one, okay? And this big term, psycho-cognitive strength. That's heavy for this time of day. So when they're 10 years of age in Year 5, in your program, they may be visiting a nursing home. So you say to them, how do you come as guest to those people in the nursing home? So when you're 10 years of age, thank you. Guest means one particular. I wish you hadn't done that. That was my warning bell for 30 minutes, and I'm 1/5 of the way in. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. Thank you, Richard. Okay, but then when you're 13 and then they're working with refugee children, guest has got a nuanced meaning again. And then all of a sudden, when they're working on a soup van when they're 15, guest, if you reflect on it, it's going to be nuanced yet again. Then when they're 16 years of age and they go on an immersion to Timor-Leste, guest has got yet a nuanced thing again. So what happens is guestness or presence or story, compassion, love, whatever concept you want to talk about, grows in its psycho-cognitive strength. It becomes a much more elastic concept, a much more deeply owned concept, a transforming one. And all of a sudden, when they're 35 years of age, and they're in a relationship and there's a difficult time, and they're sitting there and their partner is whatever they're going through, and they turn to their partner and they come as guests to their partner's journey. Can you see what's happened? That's that journey. That's why the potential for transformation. So your job and mine is, I might say to these students here, hey, you want to see them, how is your guestness to them different to what it was two years ago when you're working with those refugee and asylum seeker children? And they'll be able to articulate a nuance on that term. Oh, praise the Lord. Okay. The guestness grows and deepens. What we've got to do, if it's going to be transformative, we're going to have a transformational curriculum, culture and relationships in the entire community, whether it be a parish, the church, the school, your organisation. Transformation, if it's just having the service learning program in its own, it's not going to happen. The crap detectors are going to go off and say, how come when we're out on the street there, we're all kind of guestness and Jesus and innate dignity, and yet in the staff room we're treated like bathtubs. Hey, what's going on here? Can you see what I'm saying? It all interplays. I haven't got time to talk about all of that there. Some of the skills, the processes, are some of these: the nature of mental illness, the facets of ageing, why we might fear difference, elements of culture, subculture, etc. I just put them up. They're in the actual notes. When I talk about the course content, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I want to use one example of course content, and I'm aware that a third of you I've absolutely lost, and I apologise. There's Rockmore and Harris Schaefer talk about attribution. That when you're working with young people, let's say the issues racism or homelessness or developing world poverty, internal attribution is when you attribute the poverty to personal characteristics. Those homeless guys are all lazy. They're just bums. Classic. I was down at the Sound Shell here near the Botanical Gardens on Eddie's van one morning, and one of the homeless guys turned up with this beautiful mobile phone and he's yapping away to me. And one student said, he's got a better iPhone than what I've got. And you can almost see the young man going, where did he actually steal it? He's got more money than I've got. Personal attribution. They're lazy, they're blah, 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 blah. But you and I, because we engage with the academic experience, the course content, others know, it could be external attribution. It attributes the poverty to the social factors, external to the individual, lack of discrepancies in the economic system, educational inequalities, etc. Okay, that's just an example of something you might do in the course content. There'd be a million other ones. Maybe in the open space you can share something. But we've got to reflect. None of this is going to happen unless we reflect on our experience. And every great spiritual tradition, in Islam and in Buddhism, in Judaism, the Sufis and everyone else, every great spiritual tradition says you must have reflective practice. But you're experts in that. You don't need me to go through that with you. But I will say it must be user-friendly. Okay, at the end of this session, we're going to skip Sister's keynote. We're going to go down into the area outside and sit cross-legged for 45 minutes and chant and we're going to hear what did Brother Damien say to us. As it says in Leviticus chapter 4, bullshitters. You're not going to do all that. Our reflection must be user-friendly. Could be a single word, etc. Hey, the pre-brief, debrief. I'm going to read this. The pre-brief is that tilling of the soil, the sowing of the seed, debrief, the attendance to what has been stimulated in the episodic memory. The result is a deeper learning. Aha! The light bulb moment, the personalisation, the awareness of story, the ownership of the concepts and more. When it happens, this is magic. This process, like all the others in service learning, comes to a point where it takes off. So my experience is when students pre-brief, debrief, it comes to a point where it's part of them. They don't need us to then live it. It becomes part of who they are. That's the point of great freedom. Quickly, Damien. I think you've got to wrap all of that in what I call in points. I will go to the grave frustrated at my inability to help young people I've walked with to really have profound heart encounters. I'm frustrated that the church seems to have lost its ability to help people fall in love with Jesus. Our former Archbishop, the Archbishop John Bathersby, it used to haunt him. Why? He'd say, Damien, I love Jesus. Why can't we get our young people to? I'm totally convinced that they're what I call in points, which is that psychological space where the young person meets the other in some way. It could be in an experience of community, an experience in nature, in service, in a significant life experience like death, birth. There's a young man in this room here. I was at the Mater Hospital about 2 hours after his son Jacob was born. And I will never forget to the day I die, as Mum and Dad handed Jacob over to me, and I held Jacob in my arms for the first time. Wow. That was an end point. God, love, all, call it what you like, was God, yabba dabba doobie, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Wow. So I believe there are end points, stillness and silence, awe. And I haven't got time to tell you the story about one time I was at Gregory Terrace and one was in year 10s. And we've been working with homeless guys, except doing all sorts of beautiful things. No, we're at the Glenala Special School. And we'd done a few days, and we came home to the Tennyson shed that night. I'll never forget it. The students had the little cupcakes and little tea light candles. I got them to use the first name of someone they'd met that day, that they've been working with. You know, one of the kids has cerebral palsy or autism or Down syndrome, etc. And they sat there with the cupcake. The lights were out. I had my Christ candle in the middle of the room. And they sat there. And they were silence with the cupcake and that little tea light candle. And I said, just in the silence, become aware of the innate dignity of that beautiful young person you've been working with the last couple of days. Silence. And then I played number 461 in the Jesus Top 500. I will never forget you, and that song started. And you could feel in that room there was a sacredness that I invited to come out and place gently that cupcake and the lit candle around that Christ candle. Then they went back and they formed a circle. I was in a sleazy bar about 10 years after that, doing the work of Jesus. And an old boy might come up to me and said to me, hey Damien, I still remember that night at the Tennyson shed. An end point. Critical thinking, the sharing of story, good mentors, a credible and doable theology. So if we want it to be transformative, wrap your program, your experiences in the endpoints. Those things where the other, God. A friend of mine asked me to talk at their wedding recently. They said, but Damien, you're not allowed to mention God. Thanks. Christian brother. So in the wedding speech, I said to Charlotte and Greg, hey, for the rest of your life, invite life, love, awe, mystery, wonder to dance with you. Invite those things into your life each and every day of your marriage. Dance with awe, mystery, the question, life and love. And if you do that in your marriage, you'll know magic. Let me say, wow. And then I kind of went, and some people might call it God. And then I finished by saying, and may the force be with you. So end points, and there are time points. I haven't got time to break open this, but in the psychosexual journey, there are times when it can make a lot more sense. I've been to look from the side. I'm having the time to talk about Alison McConaughey. This is what my own doctoral work was about levels of meaning making. How do you get to the deeper levels of meaning making? I've discovered was through direct experience, the active presence of mentors, reflection upon experience, critical analysis, and wrapping it, a concept in an ideology that made a bit of sense. That was the ideology we used with the street van. I'd like to think every student that worked in that van for all those years and still do went at home with all that. It could be a prayer too. This is the prayer we used to use before we went out in the van. I don't want to use it as a prayer right now, but look at the concepts in it. Okay? Those concepts could be magnificent ways of encountering the other. So our privilege task, and this is my wind down, is to get those three things there. My summary is, yes, we need to form the somatic memory and the episodic memory. My summary says, you can't read this, reflection upon experience, the context for rich ideology and theology. My summary says, create a culture within the program, experiences, and the surrounding community of endpoints. And those things will help it to be transformative. Brother Philip Pinto, used to be my boss, said to me, I came across this story. I'd like to buy $3 worth of God, please. Not enough to explode my soul, transform my sleep, just enough to equal a cup of milk, warm milk with snooze in the sunshine. Not enough of God to make me love a black person or cocaine with a migrant. This comes from the Caribbean. I want ecstasy, not transformation. I want the term, not a new birth, but power of eternal in the paper safe. I want to buy $3 worth of God, please. Don't buy $3 worth of God in your service learning, please. But ultimately, glory be to Him, whose power working in us can do infinitely more than we can ask or even imagine. Glory to be to Him in the church and in Christ Jesus. Amen. Namaste.